Hi ladies, today we're going to be learning how to take a photograph, for example, this Rosie Santini blue dog photo, and turn it into something that repeats multiple times. So to do that, you want to bring your photograph into Photoshop by dragging it to the PS logo at the bottom of the screen. It may take a couple seconds for Photoshop to open. And please remember while you're doing this that my Photoshop looks slightly different than your Photoshop, but is pretty similar. All right, so we have Rosie Santini's photograph of her dog in here. She's already edited it. Now this works really well because the background is plain, but you can do it with any type of photograph. Okay, so to make this repeat, we want to make a background that is pretty large. So let's try this. Let's do File, New. Let's go ahead and change pixels to inches if it's not already on inches. And let's do a width of about 30. This one is longer, right? It's a horizontal photo. So we'll do longer rather than taller. And we'll do a height of 20 inches. And we'll do a resolution of 300. Press OK. So you get a pretty long photograph here, or background rather. So we'll go back to Rosie Santini's blue dog. We'll do Select All, also known as Command A. We'll do Edit, Copy. We'll go ahead back to the plain background and do Edit, Paste. Now, if your photograph pastes small, that's fine, but it might paste really, really big. So either way, you want to hold Shift while you're making it bigger and smaller. So I'm holding Shift right now. I'm going to go ahead and make it larger. Now, I'm not sure how big to make it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag my rulers to the middle and basically create a cross in the dead center. So actually, I'm just going to make that small for a second. Then I pressed Enter. If you do not have rulers here, you're going to go to View, Rulers, and see when I turn them off, now I can't see them. So again, View, Rulers, and now you have rulers here. To take what is called guides, or like imaginary blue lines that just show you where the middle of something is, you can drag from the center of any part of the ruler up here. Just drag, so literally I'm dragging from the ruler, and it should magnet to the center. Now remember, we made it 20 inches big, so when it gets down to 10, you can let go. You can do the same thing. You're just going to drag from the left side here, drag over, and remember we made it 30, so when we go to 15, boop, 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 there we go. That is basically the size. So we're going to take Rosie's dog now, or whatever photograph you're using, and you're going to go ahead and hold Shift and make it bigger. Now, if it does not fit, like the proportions are a little off, that's normal. So if we make it bigger, we want to try to get it exactly on the line. If you zoom in a little by doing Command plus, you'll see, and hold Shift when you make it bigger and smaller, remember? You'll see that there's a way to get it. So you might have to use the arrow tool. There's a way to get it right on the line. Do you see how it changed to red right there? So I know that that's the perfect size. So I'm going to do Command minus and zoom out. And now I can arrow Rosie's dog over. So I can use the arrow tools or I can just move it. And do you see how it turns red when it's on the exact line? So I know that that is perfect. I can even go to the top and make sure that it just goes over the edge a little. Now press Enter. It's okay if there's a little extra on the left side because I'm going to crop it later. So now basically all I need to do is copy it 3 times and make sure that I'm moving it in the right direction. So to copy this layer, I'm going to go down to layer 1. I'm going to drag it to the post-it note, and it's going to be directly on top of this photo. So I have to go to the arrow. Your arrow looks more like the computer mouse, but mine looks like this. They're the same, so it should be over here. All right, I'm going to move it. And now remember that I want it to line up. So when it's lined up, I'll get these little lines. Yours might be red, they might be a different color. But I know that it's lined up when those little lines show up. And now, of course, we want to flip it because it's not the right direction. So we're going to do Command T as in transform, Control left click, and we're going to do Flip Horizontal. And that's going to give you a horizontal dog, so the dogs are touching. And again, you want to arrow over to make sure that you don't have any bit missing. You can zoom in, Command plus a bunch. Do you see how there's a little bit? I just want to make sure that they are just barely kissing or touching, but I don't want to end up with anything else. And I'm going to do Command minus again to zoom out. And you can move, if we go back to the arrow tool, it'll say apply the transformation. You click apply. And you can move this blue line a little bit, the guide, just out of the way because we might not need it for a second. And now we can tell if we click on the background that there's no seam here. You don't want a seam in the middle. So I can go ahead and put it back. Boop, boop, boop. It should magnet right to 15. Bloop. Now we can go ahead and we're going to flip both of these, but we need to merge them first. So we click on both layers. So again, I did click, shift, the shift key, and then click. So I selected both. And then anywhere on the gray area, I do control click, and I do down, 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 merge layers. Now they're one layer. So I can drag this entire layer, clicking on the gray area, I can drag it down to the Post-it note. And again, now there's two. It looks like one, but if we click on the arrow to make sure we can move, we'll slide down and we notice that there's two. Now we want to flip this one. So we do Command T for transform again, Control click, and I think this time we do flip vertical. Yep, so now that worked. We flipped them back. And again, we should move, press enter to get out of transforming it. And now we want to move this guide out of the way. We want to move this guide out of the way. And see how we have this little sliver of white here? We do not want this little sliver. So we can go ahead to, I can tell which one is upside down. It's this one. And that way I can arrow over. And when I click on the background, there aren't any slivers anywhere, so I know that it's perfectly lined up. Now the only problem is we have a little extra white. And if you want to get rid of that, you just make sure you're on the background layer and you go to the crop tool. And you can just crop it right to the edge. So it'll sort of magnet right to the edge. And then you press enter or return on the keyboard. That's it. That is a perfect selection of 4 copies of a dog. So to save that, you just do File, Save As. We don't need to save it as a Photoshop document, so you can turn it to JPEG. You want to make sure that it says something.jpg up here. If it doesn't, you would have to type .jpg. And you want to name it something. So I'm going to name mine Rosie's Blue Dog Symmetry Copy. And I'm going to save it somewhere on the desktop in my folders, and I'm just going to press save. Lastly, when this comes up, you should be able to press, make sure it's at quality of maximum or large file, and just press OK. And when it's done being blue down here, which actually I think yours is up here, but it's done saving, and you can double check that it's here by going down here where you saved it. There's my blue dog, the end. Good luck, ladies.